How's it going, guys? My name is Stoned, and welcome to these reviews. Today I'm going to be reviewing one of my favorite psychedelic live albums, Happy Trails by Quicksilver Messenger Service. I will warn you guys at the moment that my electricity seems to be going off, so beware of the flashing and stuff. I don't know. It seems to be acting up. I don't know if you can already tell, but I could tell right now. Anywho, back to the album. Happy Trails was recorded, or most of Happy Trails was recorded at the Fillmore in 1968, though it isn't specified which Fillmore exactly, while the last two tracks were re-recorded in the studio. So while not every track on this album is live, the atmosphere and energy of their performance is definitely here regardless. I find that Happy Trails was a significant improvement from their debut album, as they really show what they're capable of as a live band. Though the track listing says this album features 10 songs, the music that's actually present on here is essentially two side-long epics with the exception of the title track. And while these live performances are split into several tracks, I think they really balance out the variation that's within their jamming, as well as within the original song they're playing. The music on here really captures the sound of live and raw psychedelia, which makes for an atmosphere that you can't really get from any psychedelic studio album. Both suites are largely exaggerated covers of Bo Diddley tracks, the first of which being the 25-minute epic Who Do You Love. It's split into 6 different tracks and begins with Who Do You Love Part 1. Now this song just comes charging in with a speedy guitar riff and heavy drum pattern that goes into very bluesy vocals pretty nicely. Already we are given some of the best guitar work on the album. I feel like the soloing on this track shines even more behind the song's main melody, and the backing vocals really complement the lead vocals on this track. This makes way for the next track, When You Love, which is pretty much the guitarist's moment to just play whatever his heart desires. Here we're given a guitar solo that's very easy to get lost into, especially with how the song unfolds and gets slowly louder and slowly quieter over time. This guitar improvisation to me is very fleshed out and unwinding, which makes for some great psychedelic music that seamlessly fits itself into just straight up rock and roll or blues. Things take a darker turn, however, on the next track, Where You Love, as the song is filled with some subtle yet menacing jamming that often reminds me of something the Grateful Dead were doing around this time. This track is one of the 2 songs that on here that really elevate Happy Trails from being just another regular live album, as they capture the abnormal and eerie side of psychedelic rock with the use of feedback and drawn out guitar slides. Ironically enough, the song reminds me of Feedback by Grateful Dead, so I had to include that in there. But anywho, this song creates an atmosphere that really works well live, and I can't imagine how it would have been to see them perform this live, especially when the audience joins in and becomes a part of the music. I mean, what a highlight this is for the record and for their performance. I can't imagine having an audience respond that way, and it really works for this track. I mean, it just really proves that live psychedelic music is an experience of its own, and can't always be recaptured in the studio, let alone on when you're not there. But I will say a fun fact about this song. Apparently, since the crowd is like chanting and all that, like the audience, they're actually credited on the track. Just that specific one though, but that's pretty cool, I'd say. I wish I was a part of the audience in that case. I could have co-written a song with them. But to continue things, How You Love then comes bursting in with another great guitar solo by the second guitarist that throws you back into the heart of the original song very well. Though it is much shorter than everything we've heard so far, it really packs a punch with its loud and demanding solos that strike for your attention. This transitions into Which Do You Love, which is a pleasant bass solo that isn't longer than 2 minutes, I think. Even if this track doesn't grab your attention like everything else we've heard, it still is pretty groovy and paves the way to the quiet beginning of the final piece, Who Do You Love Part 2. This track concludes the Who Do You Love suite with a subtle reprise of the chorus before exploding with a fiery vocal performance, as well as bringing back the song's main melody. This moment makes for another great highlight from this record, and already we've given just so many great guitar moments on this album, and this is only the first side too. And from this point on, the song unfolds into one of the best conclusions I've ever heard at a jam session. I think I've said the same. I said that about Mountain Jam on the Eat a Peach review, but I think this one takes the cake. Like, it's just so good. You gotta listen to it for yourself to experience it. And at that point, we finish side one and move on to side two, where things continue to be just as lively and just as amazing. I will say though, one thing I love about this album is just both sides are just so epic that I really can't decide on which side of music I prefer more, just because they're both easy to get lost into and taken back by. I feel like with most albums I reviewed, I usually know like which side is my favorite, but this one is honestly pretty tough. I can't decide yet. But we open side two with the incredible cover of Bo Diddley's Mona, a track that is filled with some fantastic drum work that I'd say chugs along very nicely. The track itself is very melodic, especially when the singer comes in and repeats that iconic blues chorus. I also think that the guitar tone on the song seems to have some sort of vibrating effect to it almost, which makes for a very trippy and psychedelic sound to the guitar. It's another favorite track of mine that is a bit more structured compared to everything else, but just as entertaining as everything we've heard so far. The song then suddenly transitions from its second chorus into the next track, Maiden of the Cancer Moon. Now, this song has some of the best guitar work on the entire album, and is probably one of the best instrumentals that the band has ever made. I mean, though it is. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Though it is, much shorter than everything we've heard so far, it really finds a way to stand out with those barreling drum fills that lead into that just explosive performance that is just so grand and so heavy at the same time. It's a track that definitely shouldn't be taken lightly, as the band really show the force that's within their jamming sessions. And from this point on, we move into the last two tracks on the album, which were done in the studio. The first of which being Calvary, and I'd say that Maiden of the Cancer Moon transitions into Calvary with such ease that it's kind of hard to tell whether or not this song was live or not. But I digress. Clocking in just around the 13-minute mark, Calvary is a track that is a musical collage of just terrifying and crazy acid rock that really pulls you in with its eeriness. In the beginning, it really feels like the band is trying to scare you with these long-winded guitar notes and heavy drum patterns, as well as adding some strange noises here and there. As you continue through the track, however, it becomes much more organized and keeps that heavy psychedelic sound going through the music. It then takes a darker turn once again with the heavy use of feedback, as well as the use of these chanting vocals that sit in the background very nicely, which goes on for some time. I mean, it is a 13-minute track. The song definitely takes its time. But, I mean, it's not a bad track whatsoever. I think it's a great track. But some of my friends don't like it, but I could see why. I mean, it's instrumental too. But I feel like it transitions into the last track and just concludes the heaviness of this album very nicely. Because towards the end, the song just begins to quiet down very softly and fade out into the closing track, which is Happy Trails, the title track. And this song, once again, is another track I love. Though I've always found the song to be a bit satirical and humorous, I just love how this song closes things off on such a peaceful note, especially with the final line being "Happy trails to you till we meet again." It's very I don't want to say like heartfelt or anything, but it's a humorous way to conclude the album because it's not like anything from this album. It's it's short, it's happy, it's not eerie at all. I don't know. I like listening to it, but just because I feel like it's the only song that doesn't transition into other songs. But with the exception of that track, Happy Trails consists of some of the best acid rock performances of the 60s and gives you a sample of what it was like to hear Quicksilver Messenger Service uh, performing at the peak of their career. Because, in my opinion, I haven't heard all their albums, but so far I'd say that this is their best one. Much better than their debut, in my opinion. Um, I've never really hear about iconic live psychedelic albums either, and I'm really glad I discovered this album because aside from some Grateful Dead releases, I feel like live psychedelic albums for the '60s are never like talked about, or I don't know where to start off besides like some Grateful Dead releases. But even then, I think those were in the '70s. I mean, I know I'm asking for a lot there. Like I'm being very specific, but I don't know. There's a lot of psychedelic music from the '60s. Surely there must be some great live albums out there, and I happen to find one. I highly recommend you give this a listen if you haven't already. I will admit this album might not be everyone's cup of tea since most of these tracks are instrumental, but it does make for some great background music that happens to have a dominant psychedelic flourish to it. And even if there isn't a lot of crazy psychedelic sounds or crazy keyboard textures, I think it's what the band does differently with their instruments on here that help create an acid rock experience that you can't really find anywhere else, especially in their own career, I'd say. But that's about it, guys. That's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed the video and would consider subscribing if you like psychedelic album reviews, because that's what I'm all about on here for the most part. I might do some more prog reviews, but I mean, yeah, they get switched up. I feel like prog music is psychedelic in a way too, but I mean, unless it's like Gentle Giant or something, then no. But I don't know. It can be atmospheric. But anywho, I'm just going off on a tangent here. I hope you all have a good day, and as the album would say, happy trails to you till we meet again. Alright, bye.